In this realm of data science and machine learning, the crucial step that contributes towards gaining proper insight and deciding what to do next with the data is just visualizing it. And in this video, we will take you through some techniques and functions in Matplotlib, a powerful library that transforms raw data into captivating visuals and plots. Let's get into it. Okay, so most often than not, you will be using the matplotlib.pyplot library. So we will import that, matplotlib.pyplot. And the standard notation that is being used very often is PLT. We will also import pandas as PD and run this code. Okay, so here is the dataset itself. This is the sales data CSV, which I created manually by myself by just typing in the list of values, all of the records, and then I had to put that onto a CSV file like this. Now we have 6 questions over here to answer, and we will do that one by one. So the first question says, create a line plot showcasing the trend of product A over the months. So we're clearly looking at showing off the trend, which includes the line plot. So what generally you would do to plot a line plot is just to type in plt.plot. But before we do that, what I will do is extract all of the records where the product is A. So first let me just create a variable, data of product A. And then I will have that to be df of df, the condition itself, product itself. By the way, df is our data frame that I created right around here, and we can just mention that to be A, and then we can plot plt.plot, mention the x-axis, which will be the month, data of product A, month, and then we also have to mention the y-axis value, that will be data of product A's sales amount, like that. And I'm also going to mention the color. You just type in C. You can just type in the first letter like this. This signifies red. And I also will have the marker to be circles to indicate the points. And finally, I will also have the label of this plot to be trend A, like that. Now you also have to type in plt.legend to look at the legend of what you have typed in. Here we have the label to be trend A. Also make sure to type in plt.show in order to look at the plot. Now let's run this, and we see that we have a trend over here on the sales amount of how is it changing over the months for product A. Now I just want to mention that when you type in plt.figure and then you mention the fig size, I'm just going to keep this to be 10,6. Now when you run this code, we see a bigger graph. It's just mentioning the size of the plot that you wish to see. Now also we can label the x-axis and the y-axis as well by using the statement plt.xlabel, and then you can mention the label to be month and the y label to be sales amount, like that. Now when you run this, we see the sales amount over here and the month over here. Now I also want to show you this notation of, rather than typing in the color to be red manually and then also mentioning for the marker, there is a standard notation which you could do. So immediately after you've given the x values and the y values, what you should be doing is create this string and then first mention the color, then you can mention the marker and then the line type as well. This way I've mentioned the red color and I want the marker to be circles and I want the line type to be dotted lines. Now when you run this code, you will see that we still have the same red color and the marker as well, but then we also see this. So this is a standard notation that you can use rather than just typing out explicitly. Now the next question says, generate a bar plot that compares the total sales of all the products for each month. So first, in order to do this, we will have to use the group by function to group the records by month and then getting the sales amount sum. So for each month, the amounts that was recorded can be done by like this. So first, let me just create a counter data frame, which will be df.groupBy function, and then you mention the month so that we group them by month, and then get the sales amount dot sum. Now let's just first look at the DFF to see what it is. We see the sum of the sales amount for each month. Now what I'm going to do is type in plt.figure, again just mention the fig size to be 10,6, and then now instead of typing in plt.bar like this, there is a better way to do this. You can just mention the data frame that we created right now, dot plot, and then inside this you can mention what kind of a plot you wish to have. So kind equal to bar. Let's just type in plt.show and see how that works. And we see that we get a bar plot. Now when you look at the x-axis, we see that the month names are in vertical format. So in order to rotate that a little bit, you use plt.xticks and then mention the rotation to be 45 degree. This way, when you now look at the output, you see that the labels in the x-axis are tilted a little bit towards the 45 degree angle, which is actually what we want. Alright, now for the third question, it says create a stacked bar plot to see the contribution of each product to the sales for a specific month. So it's asking for us to show the sales amount of all the different products, that is we have 3 products A, B and C for a specific month. So we will have to use the pivot function to reshape the dataset itself in order to achieve this. So let's create the pivot data itself by typing in df.pivot, and then we first mention the index to be month. Now what this does, this effectively just changes the shape of the dataset. That is, in place of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this column, we will have the month, that is from January all the way up to December. And then I'm also going to have the columns to be product. So I will mention the columns to be product like that. Now this will change the columns, that is month, product and sales, to be A, B and C, because those are the 3 products that we have right around here. And now we will also have to mention the corresponding values. Values will be sales amount. Now when you actually have a look at this pivot data, you can better understand. We see that we have the month over here as the index, and then the columns are A, B and C, that is the product, and then we have the corresponding values as the sales amount. So this pivot function is just very effective for reshaping the dataset itself. Now I'm just going to do the same thing, that is to plot this variable and then mention the kind to be bar plot, but this time I will mention stacked to be true. What this does is this will create a stacked plot of all the 3. Now let's just type in plt.show, and we see that we get the stacked plot that we wanted to have. Now I forgot to mention that you can also type in plt.title to set the title name of the plot itself that you're creating. For example, let me just type in contribution of each product. Now when you run this, you see that we have the contribution of each product text as the title for this plot. Again, we can mention the xticks to be plt.xticks to be rotation equal to 45 degrees. Let's just run that, and we see that we get the 45 degree angle in terms of the x-axis label. Now up for the fourth question, this says generate a scatter plot that displays the relationship between sales amount of product B and product C. So we have to create a scatter plot that is to just plot out the points in terms of the x-axis and the y-axis. So we will have product B to be on our x-axis and the product C to be on our y-axis. So what we should be doing is first extracting the data, that is product data B will be df of the if condition, product should be B, and I will just copy this line, paste this, just change this to C over here and over here as well. Now we just type in plt.scatter, that is the function used to create a scatter plot. You just type in the x-axis, that is product data B of the sales amount, compared to the y-axis, that is the product data C, again sales amount. I will also just mention the figure size so that we get a bigger plot. So fig size 10,6, and then type in plt.show. When you run this, we see that we have a plot. Now I also want to type in one more thing, that is to type in plt.grid, and then you mention true. This will show you the grids as well, like this. This is much more legible to look at. You can also mention the X label and the Y label if you wish, but I'm just going to leave it right around here. Now for the fifth question, it says create a box plot to visualize the spread of sales amount for all the products over the months. So it's asking for us to show the wide range of sales amount values for all the products in over the months. So this is just very simple. First, let's just quickly mention the figure size, and then we type in plt.boxplot directly, create a list inside this, and mention what we have to do. So first box will be for data product A, and then we just mention the sales amount. We similarly have to do that for B and C as well. Actually, let's just copy this one and then paste it here. We will also do that for C. Paste this and change this to be C. I'm also going to mention the labels for each of the product itself. So just follow this, labels equal to, creates another list, and inside this first mention the products itself. Product A, comma, another string, and then mention product B for the second product, and then product C for the third product, like that. Now we can just simply type in plt.show. Actually, I will also have in the grid, so plt.grid to be true. Now enter, and we see that we get the wide range of values for all the different products. Up for the final question, it says generate a pie chart to visualize the distribution of sales among the 3 products for a specific month. Let's say that the month that we choose is January. Let's just extract that quickly, and then what we should be doing is in this January month we will have to group the records by product, that is product A, product B and product C, and then get their sales amount sum. So what I will do is create another variable, product sales, and that will be this specific month data that we created, data dot group by function, and then we are just going to group that by product, get the sales amount sum dot sum, like that. Let's just print that to see if it's working. Product underscore sales, and yep, we see that for the January month A has 1200 sales amount and B and C as well. Now what I will do is type in plt.py. Actually, let's have the figure size first. Fig size to be 8,8, and then now type in plt.py. Mention the product sales that we created. Labels will be product sales index. That is the index itself of the product sales that we created, that is A, B and C. Now let's just run our code and see. Actually, I forgot to type in plt.show to get rid of this. And now we get this pie chart itself. Now I also wish to mention the values itself. So what I will do is just type in auto-pct, the percentage itself, and then have the decimal places to be just one number after the decimal point. 0.1, and then percent. Now let's just run our code. We see that we have 46.2% for A, 23.1% for C, and then 30.8% for B. Now also there's just one more thing that I wish to mention. Just type in the start angle. This is the starting angle itself, and I'm just going to have this to be 140 degrees. Now when you run this code, you will see that the starting angle has been tilted towards 140 degrees, and this gives an even split itself. Again, we can have the plot title itself, but I'm just going to leave it this way. You can have whatever you want. Now in this same Matplotlib library, there are some advanced techniques such as 3D plots or also showing images with labels. We have videos on these as well, which is what I recommend you to watch next. It will be linked if it's released.